Welcome to eSchedule. Whether you're a fire department, EMS agency, or police department, our highly configurable, easy-to-use software can help you get organized. Our features include scheduling, timekeeping, training record management, online forms, and much, much more. What follows is a pre-recorded overview of eSchedule. One of our software experts is going to walk you through the benefits and features of each available module. If you'd like to schedule a personal demo or call with us, please reach out and let us know. But for now, sit back and enjoy. The eSchedule software overview will now begin.
Welcome to the eSchedule software overview, and thank you once again for your interest in our software product. We're going to talk a little bit about what we have to offer you in terms of a general overview, as well as what we call our base module. For those of you that wish to continue on to the other modules, you're welcome to do so. Also note on our YouTube channel that each of our various modules are broken out into different videos. So if you'd rather jump into a specific feature, you can certainly feel free to do that at any time. A little bit about eSchedule and what we do. We are a cloud-based workforce management software company. So everything is online. You and your employees or volunteers have 24-hour access to the software. And our goal is really to help obviously organize your workforce and make things nice and organized for you. So we focus primarily and specifically on public safety departments. Police, fire, and EMS, that's our focus. We understand there's a lot of different options out there in terms of software products, but a lot of them are not focused on public safety. And we think that you'll find some negatives to not using a software that's designed specifically to your needs or to your industry. Our goal is to provide you tools to ultimately save you time, get organized, improve communication. We want to remove paper from your life as much as possible. And really, time is money. So how much time are you spending every week, you, your supervisors, your managers, managing the schedule and filling open shifts? Whether you're using another software package, if you're using Excel or paper, a lot of different ways of keeping track of schedules, but how much time are you spending and really wasting doing that? Talking about timekeeping, how much time are you spending manually tracking time, adding up time cards, fixing errors? How many payroll errors are there? How much money are you spending rerunning payroll due to issues with timekeeping? So that's what we're here for. The cost of eSchedule at the end of the day is still probably likely less than the cost equivalent of your time and those errors that may be happening within your organization. What makes eSchedule specifically different from some of our competitors? The software is very configurable, customizable, so we are willing to work with you on perhaps quoting some customizations if you're in need of those. Maybe there's something very specific that you can't find out there. We'll work with you to brainstorm that. We're extremely proud of our customer service, and I think you'll see that in our reviews. Very modular, so you can add and remove features, and you're only going to pay for those features that you're in need of, essentially. The software is very easy to use. We hear that time and time again. So especially for your regular employees, the regular users, if you will, easy to look at the schedule, easy to look at time cards, easy to clock in and out. But behind the scenes, it's very powerful for you as a manager and any other administrators that you have set up in the software. We're always updating the software. Every few months, we release additional changes, and you're going to get benefit from those generally at no charge. And then we really form a partnership with every customer agency that we work with, and we're very proud of that. So the various modules that we offer within the eSchedule platform are our base module, which includes all the things that you see listed here. Of course, we offer scheduling. That's at the core of what we do, and you can see a number of features and benefits there. Timekeeping, there's a lot of different ways to track time. It's not necessarily just a clock in and out. So we have a lot of different ways to help you keep track of time, even if you have employees that don't clock in and out, or maybe they're salaried, that kind of stuff. Training records, a couple different modules there, and then everything else we sort of group under what we call agency management. So our online forms, our vehicle maintenance, and our equipment tracking. So that's the suite of modules that are available within the eSchedule platform. So let's talk about the base module. These are features that come with every single eSchedule account. The first being your employee database. So you're going to be able to come in here, very easily add a new account if you hire someone new. If they inactivate the account, you can do that, and we don't delete anything. So if the volunteer or the employee leaves, you just inactivate their account, and then once again, the schedules remain, all their old time cards, all that good stuff remains in the system. This is the central location for contact information, the level of access. So maybe someone can just work with a schedule, or maybe someone can just manage the time clock. You can set up different levels of access for each employee. This is where you set their employee type. Are they full-time, part-time, volunteer? Any positions or clearances on the schedule? So what roles or positions are they able to work? Messaging preferences, certifications, equipment that that the employee might have would be done through here, as well as any PTO or paid time, vacation, that kind of stuff. You can also do notes, custom fields as well within the employee database. eSchedule is mobile friendly, so we have easy to use instructions for your employees to set up a shortcut, whether they're using an Android or an iOS smartphone, and then from there they can gain access to all the different areas that you see down there at the bottom of the screen right now. So they can see their schedules, see the when they're scheduled, their time cards, clock in and out if that's something that your company allows, a number of different things that they can do from their phone directly. eSchedule works well on a tablet as well, so if it's an iPad or an Android tablet, you're welcome to certainly use that as well as a desktop computer. So this is the eSchedule dashboard. Every employee, they're going to log in with their username and password, and they're going to see something very similar to this. Across the top, you've got your navigation bar, so very easy to get around the site. Below that, an area for announcements and messages. Below that, we call these buckets. So my schedule, this is the employee's upcoming scheduled shifts, any certifications that they have in the software that are going to expire, and we do give them the dates of all the certifications that pertain to them. Any upcoming events within the department, so staff meetings or training classes. We have an area that allows people to post their shifts for coverage. So if they're looking for help or want someone to work for them, they can do that. And of course, we also have a swap or trade feature. So if two employees want to swap a shift, they're welcome to do that, and then that gets submitted into eSchedule for approval. Bids. So a bid is just an open shift. You can see here that this employee has a number of bids that they've submitted. So that's a nice summary of open shifts that they're willing to work and the status of those. So you can see one was approved by a manager or a scheduler, a couple were canceled, and a couple were rejected. And then lastly, paid time off. So this employee has a number of pending paid time off requests. So that right there is a summary of what they have submitted into the software. Messaging, you're going to get the ability to send group email and group text messages, which is great. So you can come in here, you can message one person, multiple people, or sets of groups of people. You can also do custom groups. So maybe there's a group of people that are just chiefs or administrators or part-time or full-time. You can set up all those groups and maintain those on your own. The cool part with eSchedule is you can send an email and a text message out at the same time. You can do attachments, and then you can also use the mailbox right within the software. So that's the screen in the middle as well as the right-hand side there. With that, you get the ability to see when the message was read, so the date and timestamp on that message that went out to everyone. The events calendar, a great place for training classes, staff meetings, easy for your employees to sign up to attend. There's a lot of cool things behind the scenes. You can do pre-printed sign-in sheets. This actually connects right into our timekeeping module as well. If it's a paid event, you can pay all those attendees nice and easily. All right, document library. So you can come in here, upload files and folders, give different levels of access to different groups or sets of people. Just a nice place to have access to files from anywhere online. Your employees can log in. If they have access to the folder, they can go in there and then pull up those files nice and easily. All the reports that we have, of course, it's going to depend on the modules that you activate, but you do get access to all of these. You can sort the reports, filter them. Most of them you can print them or export them to Excel if you needed to do that, and there is no additional charge for any of the reports that we offer. The base module, a lot of additional things that we can do. We have user logs, mailing labels, public calendar access on your website if you wanted to do that. We have a live station view as well as a read-only access option. The scheduling module is at the heart of what eSchedule does. Of course, we are a scheduling company. Even though we offer many other modules, this is really the heart that kind of revolves around everything. So whether you're scheduling volunteers, you have part-time staff that are submitting availability or picking up shifts, or if you have full-time staff and they're working a rotation or some sort of regular pattern, you're welcome to use eSchedule and very easily schedule your volunteers and your employees. So the scheduling module, of course, you're going to get 24/7 access to the schedule. So everybody can see where the open shifts are. You can see when you're working. If you're a scheduler and you need to worry about getting some things filled next week, you can see that, whether it's from your phone, a tablet, or the computer. So with that comes improved shift coverage. Everything's online. It's nice and easy to see. Your employees and volunteers are more likely to see those open open shifts and bid on those shifts. Everyone knows their schedule, so there's no more no-shows, reducing your overtime costs by tracking who should get shifts based on the number of hours that they have. And we give you tons of reports and communication tools. A lot of things happen automatically. So if someone picks up a shift, they're going to get a text message and an email letting them know that they've been added to the schedule, or if they come off the schedule, or if they switch with someone. So a lot of communication tools, both manually and automatically, that happen within the software. The schedule template itself is configurable or customizable, so as many shifts as you have, whether you're scheduling by vehicle number, by daytime, nighttime, station, positions, you can do all of that stuff, all right? You can have different positions, and of course the shift times can vary. So if you have 24-hour shifts or 12s or 6 or 4s, it doesn't really matter. We're going to pre-program that to make it nice and easy for you to schedule right within the software. As I've mentioned, any rotations or permanent shift patterns can be pre-programmed into eSchedule, and we customize those for each of our customers that we work with. Shift bids or pickups, trades, and swaps are all possible. We have a number of different ways to do sign-on and sign-off rules for shifts. So perhaps you have volunteers and you want them to be a little bit more flexible with their schedule, but maybe your paid staff, you need to have those go through an approval process. We have a number of different settings to manage that. Very easy to split shifts as well. So if you have a 24-hour shift and someone can only do the first 12, you can easily split that up. You can collect availability, generally used from your volunteers or your per diem staff. And then I'll show you here in a second how you can sync your eSchedule shifts with your personal calendar. A lot of different ways to look at the schedule. At the top here is our monthly view. At the bottom is our weekly view. We also have daily and hourly views. A number of different settings within these. And the cool part is every employee can choose what they want to look at when they log in. So John Doe likes to look at just a week, but Jane Doe likes to see the full month. You can set that up and only see what applies to you. Now, if you're a larger company and you have different divisions or departments, we can also set that up so that you're only able to interact with the schedule for the department that you belong to or the division that you belong to. We also have a number of filters and different ways we can look at the schedule. Our goal really is to make it nice and easy for your employees to see what applies to them. So this is a police template example. Once again, every template looks different. So we have hundreds and hundreds of different templates. We'll work with you to set up how you want it to be. So down the left-hand side, you've got your shift names. In the middle there, you can see a number of different positions. And then this particular company has varying shift times. You can see some shifts here are open, some are closed. So a nice good example of different ways to set up your shifts. Here's a fire example. They do it a little bit differently. You've got different stations down the left-hand side. You can see they've got a spot for some administrative staff as well as some other shifts down at the bottom. So a good place for standbys or community events, training classes, miscellaneous things that you might want to schedule somebody for. Last but not least, an EMS template. They do it a little differently. They've got supervisors at the top. They've got their shifts set up by time range. And then actually down at the bottom, they do also have some standby shifts, which you can't see on this particular screen. So shift management, we want to make it nice and easy. Any shift length, whether it's a 1-hour shift or a 24-hour shift, you can work with those as you need to. It's very easy to assign employees to shifts or remove someone. So if someone calls in sick, you can take them off. You can even take them off a recurrence if you needed to do that. So if you have someone that's a full-time employee working a rotation and they resign, you can go ahead and take them off all of those future shifts nice and easily. As I've mentioned, any rotation can be programmed. I just touched on that. You can remove people from a recurrence. Splitting shifts or changing shift times, that's easy to do. And you can schedule as far into the future as you want to. So if you want to schedule a month at a time, 3 months, 6 months, or an entire year, you're welcome to do that within the software. And as I mentioned before, a lot of automatic notifications that happen, whether it's a new shift that just opened up or you putting on someone on a shift or taking them off, you are going to have a lot of automatic help behind the scenes within the software. Collection of availability, so if you want to use this screen here to have your part-time staff or your volunteers send in when they're available, you can do this. And then as the scheduler, you can see when they're available. You can pull it up in either a calendar view or a report view, and then go ahead and schedule the staff based on when they're available and when you have open shifts. Shift approvals, so if you want to have what we call bids go into the system, you can do that. So you or your schedulers can come in here, take a look at all the bids. So all those rows are different people that have offered to work shifts. If you have multiple people bidding on the same shift, you can use this information to decide who should get that shift. So we give you the date and time stamp of when it was submitted. We give you their seniority date. We also give you the number of hours that each employee has, so you can decide who should get that shift. Down at the bottom, swaps or covers. So you can come in here, approve if people should swap shifts or want to swap shifts, or if someone's going to work for someone, you can double check that as well. and go ahead and the schedule will get updated accordingly. Open shift report, you can come in, run a report of everything that's open. You can assign people to these shifts right from this report on the left-hand side. We also have a weekly automated email that goes out, and this goes out every week to all of your members or employees, and we're going to show them the open shifts on the schedule. We're going to show them a copy of their upcoming scheduled shifts, as well as any certifications they have in eSchedule that are going to expire in the near future. We do have an iCal feed, as it's called, so this really connects the shifts in eSchedule into your employee's personal device. So an Outlook or a Google Calendar are the most common. They can set that up, and then their shifts in eSchedule that you put them on will show up in their phone or their software. So that works really well from the employee end. A lot of other scheduling functions that we have. You can set up different pay types when scheduling. We have a report dedicated to just projecting or seeing how much overtime you're going to have. We do have tools that help you track overtime in terms of who was offered overtime, whether that's optional or mandated overtime. And we do also have multi-shift editing as well as an auto scheduler feature. The timekeeping module within eSchedule is extremely powerful. A number of customers come to us specifically due to our ability to configure and customize a timekeeping solution for them. As you might imagine, public safety has a lot of different ways of tracking time, whether it's hourly or salary, stipends, weekend pay, overnight pay. We are in the business of specializing in configuring a timekeeping solution to meet your needs. So we have a lot of different ways to track time within eSchedule, whether you have employees clocking in and clocking out, which is the standard sort of typical way of doing it, or maybe you don't. Maybe you have salaried employees or people that only get paid additional if they're held over late or coming in early. We have a lot of different ways to keep track of that time for you, and I'll walk you through those different options. We do also have a biometric finger scan add-on available, so if you are not interested in having your employees use their password, which they would key into eSchedule to clock in and out, we can also send you a biometric finger scanner, which you can then connect to your computer. Your employee would then scan their finger, and that is what they would use to clock in and out at the beginning and end of their shift. Otherwise, you can control punches, so for those employees that are clocking in and out by location. So you're going to tell eSchedule where or which computers or stations or networks that the employees are able to clock in and out from. So that could be on a mobile device, it could be on a single computer within your station, or anywhere in between. That's a setting that you can control right within your account in eSchedule. Everything revolves around what we call a grace period. So if someone is scheduled to start work at 7 a.m., you need to tell eSchedule what the grace period is. Are they allowed to clock in 5 minutes early and get paid for it? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? Same thing at the end of their shift. If they're late getting out, what's the grace period? So is it after 20 minutes or 30 minutes that they have to tell you why they're late? That's really what controls what we call exception tracking within eSchedule, and we'll talk about that. And then lastly, the paid time off management and then integration with payroll. We'll touch on that through this video as well. So your standard clock in and out, as I mentioned just prior, if the employee comes in, they log into eSchedule. If they are in a location that you have approved, they're going to see either a clock in or a clock out link at the top bar there. So eSchedule is then going to look, we know what time it is right now, we know what time they're scheduled, and depending on the grace period rules that you have set up, it's going to check the schedule, check the logic, and then determine if the employee can go ahead and clock in. Now, if they're on time and within the grace period, everything is good to go. Now, if they're punching in too early or they're punching in late, or maybe they're trying to punch in because they're not scheduled at all for whatever reason, they can still do so. So employees can always clock in and out, they just have to put in a comment. So this is where they're going to tell you why they're late or why they're coming in early, or maybe they came in for a meeting with somebody. They can do that, as well as checking an activity type there, which you see where it says Station 121. All right, and they can go ahead and clock in nice and easily from there. Now, everything that falls outside of your grace period is going to come into your exception tracking. So this is your best friend in terms of checks and balances. Every row here is an exception. So these people either came in late, or they punched out late, or they came in and weren't scheduled. So this is where you can use to control the punches and make sure that everything is looking accurate. So you can do a bulk or a multi-approval of exceptions if you want to do that down the left-hand side, or you can very easily go into any one of these entries and make a fix if you needed to change someone's time for whatever reason. We do also offer what we call a manual clock in or a manual punch in and out. So you'll notice that this employee here, last name Cohen, is logged in. They're logging some time for a meeting with the chief. So on February 4th from 08:30 to 12:47, they're logging some time into the system. They have to put a comment in there. And then from there, a couple things can happen. Either this time can go right onto their time card if that's a setting that you want to have happen, or we can have everything go back onto that exception screen for approval before it goes on to the employee Cohen's time card here. Now this can also be used in conjunction with the other standard clock in and out. So this is great if you have employees that are clocking in from home or a training class or a conference, or you want them to just manually log time. You're welcome to use this screen. Now this is the time card admin screen. So as an administrator, or what we call a time card administrator, you can come in here and you have complete control over all the punches. So if you need to fix someone's punch time, you can do that, or maybe change the activity type or pay type, or if you just need to manually add some time onto someone's time card, you have the ability to do that nice and easily right within eSchedule. Transfer shifts, this is a less used option, but it is getting more popular. We have a lot of customers now that don't necessarily want their employees to clock in and out. What this does is it takes all of the scheduled shifts for a period of time, and it moves those shifts automatically onto the time card in bulk. So you could do it for a single day, multiple days, or an entire pay period. And once again, it's going to take whatever schedule shifts are there and move them onto the time cards automatically. Great for salaried employees or for those employees that don't necessarily need to, or that you don't want to actually have clock in and out. The multi-punch is a great tool that gives you access to providing multiple people the same amount of pay for an event. So if you have a staff meeting or a training class or something like that, you can come in here, check the boxes of who attended, and then go ahead and get everybody pay on their time card for the same amount of time and for the same pay type. This is what the time card itself looks like. So this is Robert Ferguson's time card for a 2-week pay period. Every row on the time card, and this is again 24/7 access, so Robert can see his time card as he goes throughout his work week. Every row is a shift that he's worked. If he has any exceptions, those are going to show up. So he was in late 9 minutes on September 3rd. He was out late 21 minutes, and you can see the comments that Robert put into the system there. It's also going to show Robert his scheduled shift name and position as well. Now over to the right, those white columns that you see, those are what we call earnings codes. So every earnings code setup is going to be different for each customer that we work with. So these columns here are going to match the payroll system that you use, whether it's a software or a payroll provider. We will work with you and work with them to make sure that the earnings codes match up accordingly. So if it's regular time, overtime, holiday pay, sick pay, any sorts of PTO or comp time, we can work that into the system here for you. Down in the lower left, you can see the paid time off balances. So you can have multiple what we call banks of PTO, and we can also handle accruals for those. So if you're accruing either monthly or annually or even by hours worked, we can work with you to set up those accruals to happen automatically. And then lastly, if you want to have your employees digitally sign their time card, you can do that, as well as a supervisor is welcome to sign that time card as well. Payroll report, so at the end of every pay period, you're going to come into eSchedule and download a file, and that file can then be easily sent off to your payroll software or payroll company. So once again, we will work with you to figure out what file format you need. From here, you can either print this file, email it, upload it, whatever it is that you need to do with this information. But it's really just a summary of the number of hours for each employee by earnings code, and then that can once again get imported into the payroll system nice and easily. And then lastly, paid time off management. Your employees have the ability at any time to come in and request PTO into the future. And then down at the bottom, you as a manager or anyone who is a scheduler can come in here, take a look at the paid time off requests, see who wants it off, and then you can go ahead and either approve or reject those PTO requests. Once they do that, the schedule will get updated accordingly, removing the employee from the schedule at that point. Let's talk about the training modules that the eSchedule platform offers. We currently offer 2 different training modules. The first being certification tracking. So if you're looking to obviously keep track of certifications, and that could be anything with a date. That could be a driver's license, a CPR card, an EMT card, some sort of certification that a firefighter or a police officer might need. You're welcome to use this module to go ahead and log those different certification dates. So as an administrator or someone that is a training manager, someone can have access access to just manage this section of the site, you can come in here, set up all the different certification names that you might want to track. You're welcome to add as many as you want, and you can add additional ones as time goes on. Now you'll notice here where it says required for positions, you can set which positions on your schedule that any given certification may be required for. So what that means is, you need to have this certification to work. Some of these you don't necessarily need to do a job function, but others you do. So this would be where you could choose the different positions again that any given certification is required for. And then we also have the reminder period. So how many days before the expiration date does the employee or the volunteer start to get reminded that, hey, that certification is about to lapse in the next 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is that you might choose to put in there. Certifications are managed through the employee profile. So you would come in here. This is something that either an administrator or once again a training manager could do. You scroll down in their profile. You can either update an expiration date. You can see there that you can put in issue dates as well as some notes or certification numbers. Or in the bottom left there, if you want to add a new certification for this person, you can do that nice and easily. On the right hand side, you'll notice some scans of cards there, so you can feel free to scan those in, upload those right into the employee profile, and then both you as the manager as well as the employee or volunteer can pull up those scans and print them or whatever they may need to do with them at that point. So if you want to go paperless, it's a great way to do it. Now, if you have a required certification that lapses, the employee is going to see this. So Jim in the upper right there, he logged in with his username and password, and the software is basically saying, hey Jim, guess what? Your driver's license expired. You are in a read-only mode. So this person cannot clock in or out. They can't pick up any shifts. They can't really do a whole lot in the software until they get that driver's license fixed with you or your training person. And then lastly, we have a lot of reporting tools available for your training manager. They can come in here. This is their best friend because they can see what they have to track down, who has things that are going to expire soon, or things that they may need to follow up on. So as is the case with all of our reports, you can filter these or sort these, a lot of different ways to look at the same information. So that is our certification tracking, which is one module. Separate from that, we offer a CME or class tracking module. So the point of this is to obviously keep track of classes. Now these classes could be something that you or your department host, or these could be classes that your employees have taken elsewhere and perhaps submitted a certificate. So if they did an online course or an in-person class, they can submit that certificate into you, and then you or a training manager can log that class in here. So that's one thing. The second thing it also tracks is progress toward recertification. So you'll notice this in the upper left, it says paramedic recertification report. Now this just happens to be the New York State paramedic recertification requirements, at least as of the time this screenshot was grabbed. But what we'll do is we'll work with you to configure this module. So if you're in the state of Washington, the requirements obviously are different. So if you're looking at national registry classes or local or regional, we can update this to match the needs of the recertification path that the employee would be working toward. And then lastly, of course, the training reports as well. Same thing, you can come in here as a training manager, see the classes that you've hosted, who needs what, who's taken what. You can sort this by instructor, by class name, a number of different tools to allow your training folks the ability to keep track of these classes that you're either hosting or that your employees have attended. Let's talk about agency management modules. These modules are add-ons that you can put onto your account, and we offer 3 different modules that you may want to consider. The first being Forms Manager, which we'll talk about, a Vehicle Maintenance module, and lastly, Equipment Tracking. So let's talk about Forms Manager, which is undoubtedly one of the more popular modules that we offer. And Forms Manager is just a fancy name for online forms. So on the left-hand side here, you can see a vehicle check sheet or a rig check sheet from Springfield Fire and EMS. Now the thing is, every single check sheet is going to be different. So yours is going to look different than theirs. We have hundreds and hundreds of different forms in the system. So you tell us how many forms you need, what fields or questions you want to ask on the forms, and then those can be created in eSchedule. We actually at this point take care of building all those forms for you. So if you have a paper form today, or maybe it's an Excel or some other software program, get those over to us and we'll take care of setting those up for you. So any paper form or electronic form for the most part can be built. You can see a summary list there of some ideas of things that you might want to consider putting into eSchedule. Now a couple benefits to putting forms here. One is employee name. So if you have down here at the bottom a driver or some sort of employee name, it's actually going to connect with the employees that are currently active in your account. So that would allow someone to choose someone's name without having to type it in. Also, this connects into our vehicle maintenance system, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So you see that vehicle odometer field there. A couple other things with Forms Manager. If you want to have email alerts be sent on a per form basis, we can do that. So maybe there's a form that you don't want an email alert for, but some others that you do, we can set that up. And then lastly, we have a number of different security options for who can view the entries. So every time someone fills one of these out, who has access to look at that information? Is it just the employee and administrators? Is it other sets of people? We can work with you to set up those different security settings. Our vehicle maintenance module, the primary benefit here is once again connecting it to the Forms Manager. So you can note, you see here the mileage field. So if you have a vehicle check sheet and that vehicle is being checked every shift, the mileage in here is going to automatically increment. So your vehicle maintenance person can come in, they can set up all the different vehicles in the fleet, they can set up preventative maintenance alerts for whatever it is that they may want. So oil changes, tire rotations, preventative maintenance routine, that kind of stuff, and then it'll alert them that the vehicle is due for service. You can also put in budgets, expenses, and invoices on a per vehicle basis if you wanted to use eSchedule to keep track of those things as well. And then lastly, our equipment tracking module. So this is a great tool that allows you to keep track of company or department-owned items that your employees may be in possession of. So this is great for durable items like pagers, radios, ID cards, coats, things that you might want to get back from an employee if they were ever to leave your organization. So not only does it keep track of who has what, you can also keep track of notes, serial numbers, as well as the available inventory of any items that you might have within your department.